Welcome to Deep Down Books, the channel where stories aren't just told, they're felt. I'm Sophie, your narrator, your fellow thinker, and sometimes just a quiet voice to keep you company. Here, we explore deep conversations, life-changing moments, and stories that speak to the soul, while helping you grow your English naturally. So whether you're here to shadow, along and improve your speaking, or just to feel something real, I'm so glad you're here. Take a deep breath, settle in, because this story might just be the one you needed today. Let's begin. It was a bright Tuesday morning at the train station. The sun was shining softly, and the air smelled like fresh coffee and warm bread from a nearby cafe. Emma stood on the platform, clutching her small bag. She looked around quietly. The crowd was busy, people rushing to work, families saying goodbye, and travelers like her waiting for their trains. Emma's heart felt heavy. Just a few weeks ago, she had lost her job as a school teacher. The school had to close down, and now she wasn't sure what to do next. She took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. The train pulled into the station with a gentle screech. The doors opened, and people began to board. Emma stepped inside the car and looked for a seat. She found one by the window, sat down, and placed her bag carefully on the floor. Outside the window, the city slowly disappeared, replaced by fields and trees. The train began to move. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" a voice said. Emma looked up and saw a man standing nearby. He smiled kindly. "No, it's free," Emma replied. He sat down next to her. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Emma," she answered. The train rolled forward as the two strangers settled in. For a few moments, they looked out the window in silence. "So, where are you headed?" Daniel asked. "To Chicago," Emma said softly. "Visiting family and thinking about what comes next." Daniel nodded. "I'm going to visit a friend too. Trying to find a fresh start." Emma smiled faintly. "Sometimes life doesn't go as planned, huh?" Daniel chuckled. "Yeah, sometimes it feels like everything falls apart before it can get better." They both laughed quietly. It was a small moment of connection between two people who didn't know each other but shared the same feelings. The train moved gently over the tracks, rocking side to side. Emma and Daniel sat quietly, watching the world outside change from buildings to open fields. "So," Daniel said, breaking the silence, "what do you do?" Or, "What did you do, I guess?" Emma smiled a little. "I used to teach third grade. Loved it, but the school shut down. Budget cuts." Daniel's eyes softened. "I'm sorry. That must have been tough." Emma nodded. "It was. Teaching wasn't just a job. It felt like a part of who I am." "I get that," Daniel said. "I ran a small restaurant with my brother. We opened it 4 years ago. It was our dream. But during the pandemic, business slowed down, and eventually we had to close. Emma looked at him with understanding. That's rough. I'm really sorry. He gave a short smile. Thanks. We tried everything, takeout, delivery, cutting hours. But it just didn't work. There was a pause. You know what's strange? Daniel continued. I felt like I failed, not just at business, but as a person. Like I let everyone down. Emma looked down at her hands. I feel the same way. I know it's not my fault the school closed, but still, I keep asking myself, what could I have done differently? Daniel leaned back in his seat, staring at the ceiling. We're both riding a train, not just to a new city, but maybe to a new version of ourselves. Emma turned to him, surprised. That's actually kind of deep. He laughed. Maybe I've had too much time to think. I think about that too, Emma said. Like, maybe this break is forcing me to rethink everything. Daniel nodded. I've been thinking about writing. Like, starting a blog. Maybe even a book. That's amazing, Emma said. What would you write about? Life, failure, food, memories, he replied. I've got stories from the restaurant and from growing up. I just never had the time. Now I do. Emma's eyes lit up. You should do it. Daniel smiled. What about you? What do you want to do next? Emma thought for a moment. Maybe I'll start online tutoring. I love teaching kids. Maybe I don't need a school to do that. Daniel nodded slowly. That sounds perfect for you. The train hummed beneath them, steady and soft. Two strangers had started their journey alone, but now they shared something real, something human. Outside the window, the field stretched out wide, golden under the sunlight. Inside, hope began to grow. The train passed a small town with red rooftops and white fences. Emma and Daniel were quiet again, but not uncomfortable. It was a peaceful silence. The kind that happens when two people are thinking deeply. After a while, Daniel spoke. Can I ask you something kind of personal? Emma turned her head, curious. Sure. Do you ever wonder if you made the wrong choices? Emma smiled faintly. All the time. Daniel nodded. Same. I used to wonder if I should have gone to college instead of jumping into the restaurant business. Maybe I'd be more stable now. Maybe I'd have a better backup plan. I used to wonder, Emma said, if I should have chosen a different subject. People always told me teaching wasn't practical. But I loved it. And now, I don't know. Daniel looked out the window. It's strange how regret sneaks up on you. But you know what's even stranger? Emma said, we blame ourselves more than anyone else does. He turned to her. I mean, she went on, if I had a friend who lost their job, I wouldn't say, you should have made a different choice. I'd say, that sucks. I'm proud of you for trying. But when it's me, I'm not that kind. Daniel smiled. That's so true. Emma added, maybe we should talk to ourselves the way we talk to a friend. Daniel leaned back. I like that. I'll try that next time I feel like beating myself up. They both laughed. I used to think I had to have everything figured out by 30, Daniel said. Emma raised an eyebrow. You're 30. 32, he replied. But when I turned 30, I thought, why haven't I made it yet? Why do I still feel lost? Emma nodded. I had that moment at 29. Like, is this it? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And when everything changed, I felt like I had failed at life. Isn't that wild? Daniel said, we expect a timeline, and when life doesn't match it, we feel broken. Emma smiled. But maybe it's not about the timeline. Maybe it's about how we grow when things don't go our way. Daniel's eyes lit up. Exactly. Maybe failure is just life pushing us in a new direction. The train began to slow down as it approached the next station. Outside the window, people waited with suitcases and coffee cups. Inside, Emma and Daniel had already traveled far, not in miles, but in understanding. As the train stopped, a young boy and his mother stepped into the car. The boy looked up and smiled at Emma. She smiled back. Daniel watched the moment and said quietly, "You're still a teacher, you know." Emma looked at him. "You helped me today," he said, "just by being honest. That's what good teachers do." Emma felt a lump in her throat. She hadn't felt like a teacher in weeks. But maybe she still was, in her own way. The train rolled on past the small station. New passengers settled in, some quietly reading, others listening to music. Emma and Daniel remained in their seats, still in the moment. Emma turned slightly to face Daniel. Thanks for saying that. About still being a teacher. Daniel smiled. Well, it's true. We don't lose who we are just because life changes. Emma nodded. I think I needed to hear that more than I realized. He chuckled softly. Sometimes we all need reminders. From strangers, even. There was a moment of silence, but not the awkward kind. It was thoughtful, comforting, as if both were letting those words sink in. Emma broke the quiet with a gentle laugh. Funny, isn't it? We both got on this train not expecting anything, and now we're having this deep heart-to-heart. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Maybe trains are meant for reflection. You're stuck in one place, can't rush anywhere, can't scroll forever. It forces you to look out the window and maybe even into yourself. Emma smiled. That's poetic. He laughed. Accidental wisdom. Don't count on it lasting. They both laughed again. Then Daniel asked, Can I ask another deep question? Emma nodded. Go ahead. What would you do if you weren't afraid? She looked at him, surprised. I mean, he continued, If fear wasn't holding you back, not money, not age, not failure, just fear, what would you do? Emma leaned back, staring at the ceiling for a few seconds. I think, she said slowly, I'd start a YouTube channel, teaching kids, telling stories, making learning fun. Daniel's eyebrows lifted. That's awesome. You'd be great at that. Emma smiled. It sounds silly when I say it out loud. No, it doesn't, he said seriously. Not at all. You've got that spark. You explain things in a way that makes people feel safe. Kids would love that. Emma felt something stir inside, a tiny flame that had almost gone out. What about you? She asked. Daniel grinned. I'd open a food truck. No rent, no big bills. Just me, a grill, and the open road. I'd travel from town to town, share stories, serve tacos, burgers, maybe even breakfast burritos. Emma laughed. Breakfast burritos? Now you're speaking my language. Right, he chuckled. And on the side, I'd write. Share each town's story. Maybe call it Meals and Amp. Memories. Emma stared at him. That's such a cool name. Daniel looked out the window. Maybe someday. If I can get out of my own way. Emma nodded slowly. Me too. The train continued its journey. Outside. The sun was starting to dip lower in the sky. Shadows grew longer. Time was passing, but something inside both of them felt more alive than it had in months. Two strangers. One conversation. 100 new thoughts. The train slowed again. The voice over the speaker crackled. Next stop, Mapleview Junction. 10-minute stopover. Daniel looked out the window. This is mine. Emma's face changed. Oh, you're getting off. Yeah, he said, standing and stretching. Visiting my mom for a few days. Emma smiled. That's sweet. Daniel grabbed his bag and paused. You know, it's strange. I almost booked a different train. I was even late getting here. She looked up at him. Me too. I almost didn't come. He smiled. Maybe this conversation was supposed to happen. Emma nodded. Maybe it was. Daniel reached into his backpack and pulled out a small notepad. Here. She looked at the page he handed her. It had his name, a phone number, and 2 words. Don't wait. She smiled softly. Thank you. Promise me something, he said, walking toward the door. What's that? That you'll film just one video. Just one. Emma laughed gently. Only if you promise to sketch out your food truck idea. Daniel gave a mock salute. Deal. Then he stepped off the train. Emma watched him disappear into the crowd. For a moment, the seat beside her felt too empty. But also, strangely, she felt full. Full of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. She opened her bag and pulled out her notebook. For the first time in weeks, she began to write. She titled the page, "If I Wasn't Afraid." Two strangers, one train, a simple conversation that didn't change the world, but maybe, just maybe, changed them forever. What about you? If fear wasn't holding you back, what would you do today? This is Deep Down Books, where stories speak to the soul. And every word is a step toward becoming who you're meant to be. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you pause even for a moment, tap that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, because here, you're never just a viewer. You're part of this story.